PC members, we are live streaming. Just FYI, we're live. TC members, you got a letter from a concerned citizen in an envelope with your name on it. Please make sure you open that up and maybe glance over it. Okay, PC, we're about a minute away from starting. We'd like to start on time. Call the meeting to order of the Henry County Planning Commission for August 18th, 2022. I will start off with a roll call. Dale Cole. David Fisher. Here. Kenan Gray here. Marcia Gratner. Jake Martin Jr. may be coming late, he said. Terry Matney. Here. Bobby Plummer. Here. Lori Pritchett. Here. Jason Roberts. Here. Daniel Hunt. Okay, she's advisory and she's not here. Okay, thank you. Yes, I will. Thank you. We're on different mics than usual. You have to hold down the right button, lower right button, in order to talk, and you have to keep it depressed in order for people to hear you. Any questions? Okay. I would have approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, which goes back to June 30th. That you should have received in your email July 1st. Assuming everyone has had a chance. Okay, go ahead. Motion? Okay, moved by Dale, seconded by David. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, same? Okay, passes unanimously. We have a request by Spiceland Ventures seeking primary plat approval for a commercial development on Pierce Drive in Spiceland. Do we have a representative? Please come up to the podium. And I think your mic is live. If the green light at the base is on, you don't have to depress anything.
Do you mind if I sit over here to control the PowerPoint?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Yeah, I think actually Tom set you up over there. And that one is live. The green light's on. You do not have to keep it depressed. All others do. Go ahead whenever you're ready. I think there may be a technical issue or blip that she's trying to fix. Just state your name and
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. My name's Charlie Maddox with Crossford Engineers. Our office is located at 115 North 17th Avenue, Beech Grove, Indiana 46107. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of Spiceland Venture LLC. We're requesting primary plat approval for the Spiceland Venture Commercial Subdivision.
so PC members, you've received the staff report from zoning administrator Green. You should have had a chance to read over those multiple pages. There is no rezone request coming from this. You ready? Anytime.
Okay. Site is located on the south side of the county limits. It's located north of Spiceland, the town of Spiceland, just south of the I-70 interchange at State Road 3. It's more closely located at the northeast corner of Pierce Parkway and State Road 3, just south of I-70, adjacent to the Flying J to the north. The adjacent land use for this property is general business to the north, agricultural to the east and south, and then highway interstate business to the west. Our site is zoned general business, which serves the intended future use for the property. The existing site, as you can see from this aerial, is almost entirely cultivated field. What I'm showing now is the proposed layout for the subdivision. There have been a lot of discussions between the owner and the Spiceland RDC, as well as Henry County Planning, to put together a layout that works for everyone. We're showing 2 lots adjacent to Pierce Parkway, and then 1 block along State Road 3, and then another block on the north and east portions of the site. Those blocks can be subdivided in the future when more is known about the intended use for those areas. We're showing 2 access points from Pierce Parkway and a cul-de-sac adjacent to the Flying J Drive. That's that driveway that runs northwest, southeast. This was to keep traffic on Pierce Parkway and prevent additional backups on that driveway adjacent to Flying J with all the truck traffic they get now. Public utilities will serve the site, including water, gas, electric, and sewer. They're all adjacent and readily available. A storm sewer system will be designed and installed to collect and convey drainage from the entire site to the east, where it'll drain to a detention area that'll be in a dedicated common area. At this time, the only known use for the property is Lot 1, which is that first lot to the right of that first entrance. It's planned at this point to be a hotel, chain hotel. Many of the discussions with the Spiceland RDC and the owner of the property, developer of the property rather, some shared funding for some of the roadway and utility infrastructure, and all of that is based upon a hotel going in on Lot 1 for as an anchor property for that entire subdivision. All the other areas shown are unknown at this point and will be developed in the future. Secondary plat and construction drawings, detailed construction drawings will be submitted following this primary plat approval for the roadways and the utilities, the detention area, storm sewer, et cetera. And detailed construction plans for the hotel and any other developments that go in will be submitted and approved independently. And with that, I appreciate your time. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
You could go back to that last diagram. The structure that's intended for this, where would it be located?
The hotel lot, you mean? Lot 1, so it's the first lot to the right of the first entrance from Pierce.
Okay, and it's labeled Lot 1?
Yes,
And that would fit in that space then?
correct. That's, the intent was to set aside enough land for the hotel to go there, yep.
How many floors are intended,
Oh,
stories?
I have no idea at this point. Raj, do you know anything about the hotel at this time? When we get to secondary plat and construction
Yeah.
drawings, we'll know more about the
A
hotel.
little premature
and
now.
the detailed design of the layout and such.
Okay, and this has gone through the Drainage Board. You've gotten approval from South Henry as far as their
So
sewage, wastewater.
We do have intent to serve letters from water and sanitary to serve the property. The primary plat and preliminary drainage calculations were submitted to the county surveyor for review. Drainage board approval will follow in the secondary plat phase when we get into the details and we design the entire storm sewer and size the pond.
Okay. On the staff report that Mr. Green has provided PC members, he has laid out the areas of the comprehensive plan for the county that's been met. We are to consider the proposed use of the property creates or doesn't create conflicts with neighboring properties, become a burden to public services and infrastructure, and can be proposed use of the property meet all federal, state, and county regulations. Mr. Green, I have seen nothing in your report that indicates that any of those are deficient or have not been met. Is that true?
That's correct. And I would also add that most of this property falls within the overlay district for Spiceland, which has some extra limitations and guidelines as to construction and appearance and heights of buildings. So it's a good thing. I think anything that the developer is looking at height-wise as far as a hotel would fit in that site and not violate that in any way.
Thank you. It says the final action on acceptance will be made by the Henry County Commissioners if any subdivision improvement agreement or a maintenance agreement should be needed. So that would be forthcoming if needed.
Yeah, I think you could address that, but I don't believe that there are any agreements with the county needed. The county is not doing anything in there. The Spiceland has agreed to take the streets into their street inventory, and the water and sewer doesn't have anything to do with the county. So
Okay.
there should be no agreements there, and I will assume that they will make appropriate agreements with Spiceland and South Henry.
Okay, and water's municipal. I assume that water tower that says Spiceland is
Yep, town
the
of Spiceland
source of water.
Yep.
Okay. And it partially lies within the Spiceland overlay corridor, so the actual structure would be,
I think all these properties are identified as Spiceland corridor properties. All
Yeah,
these parcels, rather.
Yes, even if the complete parcel is not within the overlay district, if any part of the parcel touches it, then all the points on the overlay criteria apply to the whole parcel.
okay, that's good to know. It's been a long time since we've had a hotel or motel or subdivision
So I've been told.
come before this planning commission. It's good that we have some indication of progress in all three of those domains. So, David, use your microphone, please. Press the lower right-hand button when you talk.
My understanding is this is north of Flying J.
South.
And the Pierce Parkway, does that go back to the racetrack?
Yes, it's south of Flying J. It's between
How many acres are in there?
20-something on the plat. 20 or no.
Okay, when they built
23.
that road out there, They done a lot of drainage work out there.
They have, there's a very deep drainage ditch on the one side of Pierce Parkway.
Did they, I never heard where they got the drainage straightened out there to start with.
Yes, I believe they don't have any.
They had a lot
problem
of trouble with it. I never did hear after that, but if you guys say it's fixed, okay.
I
So
can,
these guys are gonna go in there and disrupt all that, but they still gotta meet Spiceland code or county code?
The answer is a little bit of both, but they're not going to disrupt anything. They will feed into some of the drainage that's already there, but the
Okay.
drainage that's there is capable of handling the internal development, as I understand it.
Okay, because they talked to several farmers when they was messing with the drainage out there, and they wouldn't listen then because they knew where it was at, all the drainage was at, and they kind of ignored them, and means nothing's been done out there. I didn't know if that was,
I believe, David, that was with the building of the Dollar General. There is a major issue with drainage on the south side of town, but I believe, has this not gone through the drainage board?
okay,
Yeah.
It had,
So there is a problem south and southeast of Spiceland that's not been fully addressed, and I think the surveyor's aware of that one. Yeah, Dale?
Let's talk a little bit about the motels. Just exactly how big are you planning on, or how many, give us a little more information, or do you know at this time? The reason why I'm asking, Henry County is in need for a good motel. We lose a lot of business because of this, and I'd just like to know what the plans are.
I know it's going to be a chain hotel, but I don't know any details on it. Do you know any details at this time?
My name is Raj, so we're trying to develop the property. And it's going to be around 70 rooms hotel. It's going to be Hilton brand that we're looking to do.
Okay, so it's Hilton, one of the Hilton
Hilton,
brands.
maybe True, or maybe another, something like that.
That's what we've been
Yeah, it's going
hearing.
to be brand name, not going to
EDC.
be like a regular motel.
Okay.
Yeah.
A name brand?
Yes.
Yes, a name brand.
Hilton, one of the Hilton brands, so that's pretty name
Yes.
brand.
No, it's going to be brand.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to do.
Well, to me, that's exciting to hear. We've heard off and on about motels, but then COVID-19 came by and kind of put a in it. But it's good news to hear that.
Yeah.
Other questions? Any party that would have information? It looks like you have checked off all the primary plat that shows the 18, 19, 24 aspects that were needed. It looks like you've met the support information that's required for submission, proof of septic or sanitary sewer service, description of composition and operation of the owners association, protective covenants or private restrictions incorporated in the plan of the subdivision, and 6 other support information. You're not requesting rezone, it's already general business. You've got the location map, proposed name and location, thoroughfares, existing schools, which there are none in the area, title scale, approximate north arrow. Any issues that you think might be missing? Planning Commission.
I just have one question, I think, and I would have thought that somebody would have asked. Once if secondary plat is approved, when do you hope to start and break ground? And hey, Raj, when are you going to build a hotel?
Yeah, when you're going to break ground?
I think we maybe start next year, April. That's the planning right now.
April 2023.
Yes,
Okay.
because it's already August, summer finish. So winter is going to be start, then all planning, rest, everything. So we think in March or April we're going to start.
Do you have other hotels in the region that you oversee or own or,
No, I have a truck stop here right now,
okay,
across from, next to Mr. Fuel, Sunoco Truck Stop.
yes.
That's the we own that truck stop.
And there's construction going on south of that. Is that the restaurant that I see from the
Yes, that's the,
sign?
yeah, they're putting Indian restaurant there.
Okay,
That's just my tenant.
okay, so you're expanding the restaurant that's in the truck stop as a separate,
They used to my
Doorway.
tenant, they're trying to build another restaurant there,
okay.
yeah.
Has that gone through planning?
Yeah, Raj, I believe you have another business in another state? and
Yes,
where is
I'm
that?
from
And-
Jersey, so I have a truck stop over there and gas station business, also restaurant. So I'm really from New Jersey.
I could be flippant and ask what exit, but I won't do that. Any other questions on to Raj? Or Charles? Charles, yes. Okay, what do we need, because this is the first one of these that I've had to do. Do we need a motion to accept the primary plat or to move it forward to another entity? Just give us
Yes,
direction.
you need a motion to accept the primary plat and a vote on that. And
It didn't take long.
then, okay, then that would move to them preparing the secondary plat. The secondary plat could come back here, or you can decide to leave it up to the office to finish the secondary plat and work out the details and not have to bring it before the commission again.
Dale, your motion said to approve the primary plat as is. Do we want to add to that, bring it back to the PC, or let the zoning administrator take care of it? Or do you want that to be a separate vote? Okay, which would you prefer, having to come back to the PC, or let Tom and his office take care of the secondary plat? Okay. Yeah, lower right hand. If you could repeat the motion so we're all clear. You made a motion to approve the primary plat and leave the secondary plat decision up to the zoning administrator office. Is that correct?
That's
Okay.
right.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
I didn't, oh, Terry? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same. That has been approved unanimously. Thank both of
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
you're
you for your
welcome.
time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
This was not my computer.
Next, we have a request by Neal Farms LLC seeking primary plat approvals for 3 subdivisions to be developed in central and northern rural county locations. Hi, if you just state your name and where you're from.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Van Ice, and I'm from Ashton Land Surveyor. We do have 3 of them that we are bringing before you tonight. I don't know if you have an agenda or which order you want to start in, and I'm sorry, I didn't know we had the ability to do PowerPoint, so
If you
First
could
time
start
for
with
me.
Viking Estates and
Yes,
go
that's
to
great.
east and then west,
yes.
that would be great.
Viking Estates will be first. But
You want Viking Trail or Viking Estates first, Ken?
he said Viking Estates. Do you
Viking
want-
Estates I would like first,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
This is the one that's on the corner of 600 North and 100 East. This is a subdivision of 6 different lots. All 6 lots are on 3-acre parcels. It's not working for us tonight. I'm sorry. That's how the world works. This subdivision, they are designing it. We have, there it is. Yep, it's pretty to see. Hopefully in your packets you will see our division drawings on the plat itself of the 6 lots. You will also see on the second page of it the covenants, conditions, and restrictions that we've placed on the properties. And the intent is Or their second. The intent is to make it so that these are viable, buildable lots, for new construction of new homes. There we go. Okay, that's the topography. And that was what is our primary plat showing the elevations of the property and the intent on how to drain it so that it doesn't cause problems with other people.
So you said these are 6 lots, approximately a little
Yes.
over 3 acres apiece. right?
Every one of them are over 3 acres, the 3.10 to be exact. We have the intent of trying to put like a detention area on the north corner, the northwest corner of Lot 1, which is your farthest north lot. You can see it's the lowest area on the topography. And the intention is for, like I said, the new homes so that they could develop this area. So we have already been in connection, like I said, it's all put together with covenants, conditions, and restrictions put on it. And I'm not sure if your packets have that too.
Not sure it's readable. It's almost too small unless they, PC members get to roll out the larger forms.
Yeah. I asked for this, just an example. It doesn't have the covenants on this one, but you'd almost have to have this size to be able to read the covenants. Even 8 by 14, they're too small. But that size is the minimum it takes to read. I'm not sure everybody has that. You can go ahead and talk, but if PC members, Tom has the fuller size that are readable. Yes, you should have plenty. We brought them, several of them down.
I'll have to have at least this size, if not larger, to read the covenant. And he has copies over there. I can pass this one down, Bobby.
Well, we also have them on a separate piece of paper, but I have them on this if you guys would like to hear them or have me read them through with you or tell you what our intentions are. Number one, he was trying to address that since there's still a rural area, that the seller of these lots does not want to have the people who buy the houses not able to sue for damages as life or farming is done around the area because this is still rural. He's trying to protect also the farming neighbors around the property. They want all houses to be at least 2,100 square feet, so none of them will be very small, it'll be pretty big size. They want the driveways to be concrete, blacktop, or gravel surfaces. They don't want, the number 4 on there, it says no livestock, animals, or poultry of any kind. None of them are to be bred or raised on this subdivision. Just dogs, cats, and household pets are permitted. The maximum number of pets is 2. And then the next part is the size of the outbuildings. They're to be 30 by 50 feet and not to exceed 15 feet. Those are the outbuildings.
15 feet height?
Yes.
Okay.
And the yards are to be maintained. And they don't want the grass to grow over 12 inches in height. And if it is, he does reserve the right to have that taken care of. No more than 3 cars are allowed to be staying outside the house for a 24 period time. And then they don't want any cars that are not used for 90 days to stay on premises. So he was trying to make it so that this is more of an upscale. He did say that if they're going to fence, they're to use like the vinyl fencing, but not chain link. Each one of these are to have use of the easements that are shown on this property for any kind of a drainage. And they did say that he's talking about the size of where the sump pumps are to be connected within 8 inches of the drainage pipe. They also have on here how they're to be able to maintain those drainage pipes that are shown on the drawing. I think we've zoomed in on one of them up there where it's showing where the drain is to be across every one of the lots. This does currently follow a ravine or the lowest part of the lots. And then the last one is, or the 14, it says that all buyers are guaranteed, all 6 lots, that a septic system will be used, or they will not be buying the property. So in other words, he's guaranteeing that it will work for a septic system.
Okay, well, that seems to be the case for Viking Estates.
And it's Viking Trail and east and west, so it's all 3.
Okay. I agree with the covenants that it's all 3. When you provided the soil map, it looks like Viking Estates, the green areas, PC, are Miami silt loam, which is not limited for septic. So that particular one, given the soil, but you'll have to correct me, Tom, because you do this more than I do. You did not, on support information that I've seen, unless you bring it tonight, shall submit proof of septic or sanitary sewer in the form of approved septic system permits. We do not have that. Do they exist?
No. Our intent was, because we have no idea where the people want to place, we wanted to place their homes. It is in that number 14, the guarantee that no property would be sold that could not have a septic on it. In other words, if they could not get a septic permit, then the property will not
Sellable? Okay.
So the purchaser is guaranteed to have a septic.
Okay. It says shall be submitted, and it's not, so that would be an issue for me. However, in Viking Estates, the green area indicates there's plenty of room in each of those 6 lots near the front, front half, to put septic in
Right.
soil that is suitable for septic.
That is correct.
It's not limiting. So they really wouldn't have a choice, probably, if the health department came in and did samples or to actually get an approved septic system permit, they would be limited to the front half along the road, I'm sure. And even then, if they do the test that I have seen, that doesn't necessarily mean that it would be approved, but the likelihood is pretty great it would be, given the soil type. So, reading over this the last few days, that's the only question I have. That looks like everything else on the primary plat showing has been met. There may be some questions about the comprehensive plan, the taking a farmland for this use, but I also couple that with the need for more housing in this county. So before we move on to another one, I'd like PC members to, that you've studied this, have any questions or concerns or comments?
I guess I share the same concern that you do, where it says the proof of septic or sanitary service in form of approved, that it's a shall and not a may. So that concerns me as well. I know that there are always good intentions for things to follow through, but we do have an area outside of Newcastle that currently has problems because I don't think it was, I just don't think the procedures were followed properly, and there is a problem. So I do have a concern with not having proof of septic or sanitary service, sewer service.
Other planning commission members have any thoughts on that? I've gone over this with a fine tooth comb, and to me, that's the only area that I marked or highlighted that had a question or concern. It looks like all the other 24 areas on the primary have been met, much as the hotel was prior, but they had proof of septic through South Henry, where this is a concern. I think the subdivision she's referring to, I walked with our health department. I walked with Shaylee Rogers and Doug Mathis about a month ago, and it's south of the radio station. I think it's Maple Grove, and I think it was put in before we had these codes.
Right.
And they did not do anything proper. The only thing was like surface draining tiles going north to south into the closest ditch that likely goes into the Big Blue River. But we can't prove it, so the state's not wanting to help us until we prove it goes into the Big Blue River. That's a major problem out there.
Those lots are small, if I remember correctly.
They are small.
And the part of the difference is these are the 3.10, these are 3 acres, they're larger, so that there could be multiple places for a good septic to be located on these lots.
I kind of agree with that with the Blue
And-
River Estates,
Yeah,
or Viking Estates.
Viking
I'm sorry.
Estates.
Viking Estates. I have major problems with the others that show all the very limited, but we're on this one for now. But I don't want to open up a can of worms or have a love canal.
so so on each one, if there was a septic permit, then he would pretty much be locking in where the new buyers are able to put their houses, right?
Right. When I walked Maple Grove, there was a person that they were installing a mound system. And he said, I spent the extra money himself to get the septic permit, and it saved him about $20,000 because he was able to go back and negotiate with the seller to pay for a good portion of that.
That's right.
But that was not provided by the seller, so it's buyer beware. Without that, I think it would sell better if we had that proof. I think I would want that if I was a buyer. I was required to do a flood dose system, which was $20,000 15 years ago. I talked to somebody that had that in their yard, and it was $40,000 today. So I think a person would want to know when they bought this. I would. I would require it if I were buying today, knowing what I know now.
Well, that's why number 14 is on here, because he is making that a part of this plat to make it so that he cannot sell it unless he's proof.
I just wish the code had been followed where it says it shall be submitted with a primary plat. That's my only concern. Everything else checks off.
I need to ask a little bit of a question. On our documents on this for covenants for Viking Estates, we only go to 12. Sorry, just making sure.
I
Could you
didn't
read
understand
13
what the
and,
question was.
could you read 13 and 14 on the covenant?
13.
Ours only goes through 12.
Ours only goes through 12.
That was a recent addition we're not privy to.
I thought we brought new ones. I thought we brought new ones down, and I'm looking at him going, my memory is very bad, so I'll just stand here for a second. Number 13, in instrument number, it says blank, recorded in Henry County Recorder's Office, Henry County, Indiana, as an agreement to allow access to a broken tile on properties adjoining this plat. The owner must be contacted prior to entering his or her property and be in agreement with the path to the broken tile to work with minimal damages to the neighbor's property. The completed repair is to leave the site as close as possible to pre-existing conditions. That is, if the neighbor to the east needs to readdress for farming, the tiles to be if something gets broken, the homeowner of whatever lot which would be affected, has to be notified. And they are saying in here that if the tile needs to be fixed and it's on their property, whoever it is that's fixing it is to put it back so that the property looks the way it's supposed to, back to nice, mowable. Number 14 says, at the time of purchase, buyer is guaranteed that lots number 1 through 6 in Viking Estates are capable of supporting a functioning septic system and perimeter drain. Buyer shall have septic permit issued by Henry County at close of purchase of property. So the day they purchase it, they're going to have a septic permit.
Is there a reason other than maybe an initial cost factor that couldn't be up front instead of at the sale? Only because when we start making exceptions to the codes, it just opens up a can of worms, I think. But what's the difference between getting it up front versus the time of sale? I would think it would help with the sale if you had that and can prove that.
I think the only reason we didn't do it, or the biggest reason, was not wanting to lock somebody in to where they're going to place their home. When we look at the lots and the role of the land or something, where they want to place those homes is going to be wherever as close to that septic as we place it, if we place the perk test on there. That's the only reason.
But if you had it done, they would know, and you'd have 6 to choose from.
Sorry?
I said if you had the approved septic system permits, they would know exactly what portion of each of those 6 that they would be able, and they could choose the one that's most desirable to them. We chose on our lot to get as far away from the road as possible, which would work on most of these if you look at the soil types, provided the health department agreed with the soil types, and actually when they did the test, it came out in the positive for septic. That's my only concern with everything I see here. That's the only concern I see. We need building. We need
Right.
housing.
We need nice
I don't have
houses.
any qualms with the need for housing.
Henry County needs it.
I just know that our code's not been met in that one area. And after having walked through an area where that was not attended to, and there's a health hazard out there, it was when we had the drought. I knew where all the sewage was coming up because there was green grass. Everything else was brown 2 months ago. And there's raw sewage and people trying to use sump pumps to move the sewage from their lot to another lot. And that's what we have to fight, and that's why we have codes. That is my only concern.
Right.
I mean, we had some concerns from a neighbor, like the road. I traveled the road, and it's pretty good shape. It's not wide, but a lot of our country roads aren't wide. A water table, I think if you go 110 feet, you're going to get good water table. Drainage problem, I assume this went through the
It did.
drainage board.
It did.
So it meets that with the exception of that one rider you wrote on number 13, and that's addressed. The sewage that's the only issue I have, but I'm only 1 out of 9 members, so that is my only concern, because everything else you checked off, and we need housing. So
That's
I'm
right.
not against it, I just wish that were addressed. And I may be the only one that thinks that way.
I just had a question, or a couple maybe, and I concur. I think, the sewage, maybe a little clarity there on that would be great. I've seen some additions fail because maybe they start out, I like your 14 steps. I think they do a great initial job defining, behavior, if you will. Who enforces that? I've seen several additions that have really gone into disrepair because they had good plans, but there was no enforcement.
That is correct. Usually, I'll be honest with you, it is up to the majority owners of the properties to be the enforcers on these. They can call the area planning or planning commission, Tom's office, and complain to one another, but I don't know that they would have the manpower to everybody who has an issue all the time to run, unless you get that all the time, don't you? So I know it does happen a lot, especially with fences or anything. Being that I'm a surveyor in the surveying industry, we get the fallouts, when they don't answer the phone, they get a call our office to tell us about their neighbors, and it could be for a subdivision that I've never, ever even heard of, not in Henry, but like Tipton or some other White County or something, and I have no idea why I'm getting the phone call, but it does happen.
So is this subdivision going to have an HOA?
Does not have one set up. Did you have a plan to do that? No.
And who will, this is a commissioner question, who is going to be, who's taking the roads in the inventory? Is it a subdivision with
Oh.
individual roads? I'm sorry.
Okay,
It's difficult. I have a hard.
The road on the north is County Road 600 North. The road on the west is County Road 100.
Okay, so there's
So
not
there-
going to be like a.
No, but I'm going to be
cul-de-sacs and all. Okay.
the dedication, I am going to dedicate those to the county, the right-of-way that is the county's now.
Correct.
To the county, so it's truly in their name, but it's right. There are no roads off of we're only fronting.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Going back to the septic or sanitary sewer service, do you have other projects that you've been involved with that didn't have this?
That didn't have that requirement. Here in Delaware, Henry County, excuse me, you're going to find out wherever I've been.
Because you're located in Delaware County.
Somewhere. Yeah, but I'm a resident of Henry County. Does that count? Let's see. Not usually in other counties, they don't have the kind of writing in their ordinance that way. It says that the property is once it is sold, it has to go through the health department for proof that it can support septics and stuff. So, and then that is the normal way, not the way that it is written in this, in the ordinance of Henry County.
Okay, thank you.
I guess that means we're abnormal. It is in our code, and that's the only.
I know it's
That's the
there.
only qualm.
I know it's there.
This is our first subdivision since we've had the code, and if we make exceptions on the first one, if you had, honestly, if you had checked off proof of septic up front, like it's actually in our code, it shall be submitted, I don't think there'd be any questions here tonight on any of this.
Do you interpret that as on every lot?
Yes, it says that, each
Okay.
lot. It's in the code.
Okay.
I would want that, when I purchased, I would want that security of knowing. And again, you have 6 lots. If they want the house somewhere as far away from the septic as possible, they have options, because some of these, all the soil types that are conducive according to the soil surveys in the front half along the road, along 100 East, which if they don't want to be close to septic, and it's done properly, they could be within 50 feet easily. And these are pretty deep lots. They would still have a tremendous amount of flexibility as to where that home went. Most people, if like me, would want to be as far away from the road traffic, even though it's not heavily traveled very fast. Probably would want to have their home in the back half. Everybody has personal preference to that. But all the yellow, orange shading on our maps are very limiting to septic. And those are all on the east half. Otherwise, all these lots are pretty much, the front half are conducive for septic. Again, PC, I'm not going to prejudice you, but that is my only concern, and I went through this pretty carefully.
Well, Ken, and I guess I'll just follow back, and I'm not sure what happens in the secondary, stage that we're handing to Tom. But, like Bobby mentioned, an HOA, I think these steps that are documented would guarantee a very high caliber housing addition, something I think someone would be very proud to live in. But if there's no enforcement, if we have one exception, it could degrade the whole thing. So I would like to see, some kind of I don't know how you do it.
An HOA of some kind set up or something?
Yeah, something they have to sign off on, and it's documented to where, it's enforceable. Because to me, this is really kind of the soul of the whole, project. These are going to be quality lots, quality homes, and I just don't want it to see like another addition that started out that way that didn't finish that way.
The intentions look very good, and I don't know what kind of price range of house we're looking at.
The Spiceland Pike project down on Deerview, I put that in the early 90s. Down through there was like 18, 19 homes. They're very, very nice homes. Some of them was only acre, and they was not approved with septic, but some of them got hooked into the city sewer. And what me and Randy was talking about, these lots will not be sold to anybody, because what we didn't want to do was saying the placement of the sewer was going to be here, and then they buy it and say, well, we want to move our house here and back, move our house back here and have the septic in a different location. And then that location didn't satisfy them. So that was our issue with not getting that done. But as you see, as you pour down 36, them are acre lots where Gary Murphy and all them guys, all of them's got septic tank, and they're only 1 acre. These are 3.1 acre tracts. And and them are really nice houses down on Spiceland Pike, and I'm not going to have anybody building any junk up there, no means.
Are those the kind of homes that you envision, Craig, up in these
Yes.
subdivisions?
If you drive
similar to
down and look at
Spiceland Pike?
Bob Witham's home and down through there where I sold them at, I actually, the ordinance is the same ordinance, I just copied them. And as you can see, they're very nice houses down there on Spiceland Pike.
They are.
And that was I was paying at roughly $800 in taxes, and now the county's collecting around 60-some thousand.
Right.
So, we can leave it as farm ground, me and Randy, but this is a good opportunity for the county.
Well, I agree. I actually stopped by and talked to Trent McCormick, and he would be very excited to improve the Blue River School District ADM, number of students, would get a lot more money because it's based on number of students, as well as the assessed valuation for his school district. So there's a lot of pluses. To answer Terry's issue, we have the option, it says on the letter that Tom sent out on July 21st, to approve with conditions, or disapprove the primary tract based on the plat's compliance with the improvement, et cetera. So there is approve with conditions, or disapprove. I know where I'm leaning, but I'm not to direct the conversation here. Come up to the mic, sir. I think it's.
They just asked me to see if we could table it and get it tested.
That would be great, because otherwise I was leaning, I can say this now, I was leaning towards approve with conditions. Do we have a motion to table?
So moved.
We have a motion to table as per the presenters. And do I have a second? It's been moved and seconded to table this motion, or the plan for today, assuming to bring it back. Any discussion?
Is this for all three? Because I'm assuming all three are identical, so do you want to table all three? Are we making a motion for all three?
Yeah, all
Yes.
three.
Okay, so I'm going to amend that so it says.
Please do.
I will make the motion to table Viking Estates, Viking East, and Viking West until the testing and other things that need to be completed are completed.
Until those conditions are met in the hold on, get the right language, and the support information. Okay, any discussion? Clear on the motion that we're tabling? No, Dale seconded. Oh, Dale, I couldn't remember. Yeah, Dale seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I wish you success. Do you still want to say anything, sir? We tabled it.
Tabled it.
For additional information on the concerns that we pointed out. You're welcome.
I'll say something.
Now come up to the microphone if you would, because we're broadcasting.
I want to see houses built. I live right down the road from it.
Okay. Near which addition? The one south of Blue River or the one we started talking?
600 and 100. I
Okay.
live down half a mile.
Yeah.
Could you move a little forward to the mic?
Yeah. We are broadcasting.
About
That's
a
the only
half
reason.
mile down from where they're
Okay.
at. And I own the field next to them. I want to see them build 6 houses down there. I don't have a problem with it. But there is a drainage problem there, and I just spent $11,000 to drain my 18-acre field that sits next to theirs because the drainage was bad, so I drained it. And if you're going to take the water from the south and bring it to the north, you taking it where?
Taking it to George, behind George's house.
Okay. I thought they said,
George is actually buying a lot there.
so there you're going to take the water the other way.
Actually, there was a
That's fine. I didn't want it to come to me because I just did all of mine.
Oh, okay. And these 6 people would not want to spend $18,000, but you have more acreage than they would have, but that has passed the drainage board, so I think that's all been addressed, except for that one that's in the 13 covenant, and that's been addressed. So I think they've addressed that issue, and what he said going south, I think addresses.
There's 121 there, but they're just that field, and I did have to put a dose in. just
I
right
did
down the
too.
road.
$20,000, I had to put one in.
$20,000, and they
And that was 15 years ago, it's 40 now.
9.5 acres, and they had to do it 3 times, 3 different areas.
That's why we want to do it right up front.
And it's good, but I hope they build there,
I
honestly.
do, a lot of people do. And as long as it's done right, we would love to see more housing.
Mr. Greg, I'd just like to say, I'm not opposed to this, but I'm just like everybody else, I want it done right. I think it's great, and for sure, like Gray said, we definitely need housing. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
I think all of us up here wish all the success in the world. And you talk to any real estate agent in the county, we desperately need housing, and including in the price range that you're talking about, and other price ranges as well. So thank you all. I do wish you all the success in that. Old business, the only thing I have is that, and Tom might want to talk about this a little bit. If you remember back in May, we had an issue with a neighbor that had a concern over barking dogs about less than a quarter of a mile from the house. Tom and I visited that residence, and she is making progress in the building and moving the dog's play area, exercise area from the front of her house to, I would say, the back 40, but actually the back third of her property, which would take it much further away. And she's doing inside a building, retrofit a building with soundproof and with drainage for the dogs, that they could do their business and be drained away properly. So she's putting a lot of money into it, and we told her that we'd follow up after Labor Day to make sure that she's being compliant. That's the only old business, and she was really trying, I think, hard to meet that. But there were still barking dogs. They were barking but she's addressing it, and hopefully within the next month, that will all be addressed and satisfy the neighbors or neighbor.
That was the issue we talked about, a couple months ago?
I believe it was May. Yeah.
He was complaining about, I talked to her.
Right.
At Rural King.
Right.
And she said she didn't know what she's gonna do. She had a son was learning to ride a motorcycle, and he was riding it on the property, and he called the law on that, so, she's got an ongoing trouble there, so.
But I just wanted you to know that we did check into that, and she is making progress and has intentions of doing what we had recommended of her to do. And Tom and I will go back and check her progress right after Labor Day. So that's the only old business. Anybody else have any old business? Well, let me go through new business. I just want to cover everything, and I know a killjoy I am. Tom or anyone else have any new business since it's on the agenda?
I don't think I have anything new.
Okay. Being that this was the first time that we had entertained as this group to consider a hotel and a subdivision, did we do what you would perceive as the proper procedures in doing so? And if not, tell us so we can do it better next time.
No, I think we've done what we need to do. We need to look at what our codes say and even though other counties' codes might differ, that doesn't mean that theirs are better or that ours are better or worse. This is the first subdivision, any subdivision we've done since we put the new code in, and that was 2004, if that gives you an idea.
18
now
years
when-
ago.
When Craig did the recent houses that he did
Spiceland.
on the pike down there, that was not a subdivision, so he didn't follow any subdivision. That was just, here's a lot, there's a lot. Let's throw this one in the city, let's throw this one in the county. It's kind of a,
Yeah, if you look at Beacon, it's carved out. It's like every other one is in the city limits. I mean, I'm not going to say it's convoluted, but it's very unusual to see. Well, normally you would drive by and think it's a subdivision. It is virtually about every other one like this along west of Spiceland Pike.
When was Prairie Knoll? When it new enough that it should have been under your newer code?
No, that was over 25 years ago.
Has it been that
I
long?
think, and maybe our surveyor could even answer, but wasn't Landmark maybe the most recent one?
And that was over 20 years ago.
Landmark was 2000, when was Landmark?
We looked at that. We looked at that for a house, for building trades, and it wasn't far enough
I
along.
looked at it, and I looked around, and I think that Landmark was the last subdivision that was done. You kind of think that things, that like the areas out in Westwood, you go, well, those are some pretty new houses, brand new ones going in right now. Those were platted a long time ago, and the first houses were put in longer ago than what I realized. And you go, well, yeah, that one was a long, long time ago.
But we all think that 20 years ago was 1980.
True. Time flies when you get our age, Bobby. One other thing on new business is I drove back from Hillsborough looking at the east and west sites that were presented, the Viking Trail east and west. Number one, that road is 100% better than it used to be since they resurfaced it. But number two, I brought this up before, and I think Terry brought up enforcement, which I know you've been doing some of that because we've talked, that business or junkyard at the corner of Brown Road and Hillsborough Road is, I know the city has brought that up to, I think, Bobby and me, pre-existing. What does that mean? We can't touch it or can't enforce anything?
It
Or
means if they continue to operate as they have always operated, they can continue to operate. If they stop, and different parts of the code address different things that stop being that, but if they would stop for long enough doing that, let's say someone died and that business closed and it just sat there and was not operated, after a certain period of time, the grandfather clause no longer is valid and we could tell them to be compliant.
it is a major eyesore, so I understand why the city council have been on us, because it's barely in the county. By one addition, it's,
I'll say one thing. If you'll notice on that, the southeast corner, that they've really improved that facility. And that looks nice. I mean, it looks like he's got a two-bay building there. I don't know what all he does, but he sure improved that corner. But maybe
talking about the
somebody
same
ought to grow
corner?
off over there.
Are you talking about the same corner, Brown and Hillsborough or something? Yeah. I didn't notice anything bad there. I just noticed right on the
Well, they used
northwest
to-
corner.
They used to, I think they used to do something with animals or something there. But I don't know if he tore that down or what. Well, I was by the other day and it looked real nice. Yeah.
Kenny, could I ask one more question, just for my
Yeah, Terry,
edification?
go- sure.
As we entertain, because all the houses we were looking at today, I'm intimately familiar with that area because that's my township. So when we consider housing, those are, I'm excited about that. And, the quality, the size of the homes, those are going to be stellar. But do we ever consider or request follow-up about other services like fire protection? You know, had no idea how many homes were going to come into this addition. You know, I was just estimating maybe 2-acre home lots, trying to figure out what it was. And, you know, if all of a sudden I got 50 new homes, and then, you know, what does that do to my local volunteer fire department? So I don't know if it's ever been an issue in the past, ever been covered, but, you know, it could be an immediate impact because they could definitely build homes quicker than I could raise funds to pay for equipment or bring people on. So, again, I was just looking for some historical information if it existed.
I wouldn't be the one to give you historical information, but Tom or someone else would.
Yeah, I can't speak as to what they've done historically. Maybe the right thing and maybe not the right thing. But I can tell you that as part of this process of subdivision being considered, that the fire officials for the area, emergency services for the area, and schools for the area have to be notified, and they were. And they were. And I don't see any of them here. So I would assume that they, other than the fact that you wouldn't have even gotten this plat unless all those things would have been met. And that's in the checklist that you see with everything now. There'll be a checklist, because if I would give you all that supportive data, and all that supportive data ends up getting thrown away after we're done with it here at the meetings. And each one of these booklets is around $3 to put together for each meeting, and we're just throwing that away. So I'm trying to simplify it. All that information and supportive information is in the file, and anybody can come and look at it and verify that it's there. But yes, the emergency services and the schools are informed of this, and we welcome their input and want their input. We assume if they don't send us letters, call us, or show up at the meetings, that they're okay with what's going on.
And there again, I guess the reason if I have this look on my face is because, you know, I'm part of the fire department and officer, and obviously in charge of providing fire protection for the township. And I'd not heard of any of our people being contacted, so I need to follow up and just to verify.
Are you, I forget, Moreland or Mount Summit?
Mount Summit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know that a letter was sent to Mount Summit, but I
You sent it to
I
me?
assume it went to the chief, but I don't know.
Okay, I'd find out. That's okay.
But I do have proof that it was mailed. Someone has it.
Well, you know, a lot of people think it's the Mount Summit Fire Department, so very easily could have went to the wrong address, wrong place. So, but yeah, I'll do a little bit of homework. I don't want to suck all the air out of the room just on this one thing, but I was just curious. Thank you.
I know the superintendent up there was thrilled that this was being considered. In fact, if we'd gotten to the east and the west, he was going to say if wastewater was an issue, he would have no problem with them connecting to the sewage plant at Blue River Schools because it's underutilized. He said the capability of that sewer system, which he said was called Cadillac by those persons that put it in or entity that put it in, could actually accommodate the entire town of Mount Summit or Moreland. So adding 14 houses, they said that during the summer it's not used, it's underutilized. And those plants are made to be used 365 days. So during the summer it gets very few uses without students and faculty. He would welcome that, but it'd have to be on the expense of the seller.
Right, yeah. It'd be the same way. I think they could hook to Summit Springs and be part of that consortium, you know, as far as another source to beat that if it's a problem. So
I know the superintendent was contacted because I said, you may not have heard of this, or you may have. He said, oh, I've heard of this.
Yeah, I bet.
He wanted more housing, more students, more assessed valuation, more ADM, all good. We had a motion to adjourn. We're adjourned and we have a meeting probably next month in September, third Thursday. Thank you all.